Hello, my name is Rick Deering, Bourgault Customer Service Rep. Today we're going to perform a pre-season operational check on your 7000 series air seeder / X30 monitor. This operational check will ensure that your machine is functioning properly as ordered and should give you a trouble-free start. The operational check should be performed before seeding or at least on the first day of seeding. We're going to start with turning on our X30 monitor. After we turn on our X30 monitor, it will search for the ECUs and bridge of the 7000 series cart. That way you know it's connected. As it's powering up, there's a little wait time, and the bridge that connects the tank to the monitor will be flashing a blue light. As it powers up, we'll be looking for a green indicator telling us it's searching for the ECU and it's found it. If at any time that indicator is orange, that indicates it has not found the ECU and we have a problem. This process can take up to 15 minutes at times. So normal time to find the ECU would be 4 or 5 minutes. In the lower right hand corner, we notice our master clutch switch is red. That means it hasn't found the ECU yet. Now it says up at the top of the screen that it's synchronizing the ECU. And as it finds the ECU, you'll notice that our clutch indicator turns white. That's a strong indicator that everything is set up as it's supposed to be. We're going to make sure a few things are set up properly within the X30 monitor. So we're going to touch on the wrench in the lower left hand corner, entering our setup screen. Then we're going to touch on the user button, the units, and on this page we're just ensuring that all of our units are imperial, unless you so choose to use metric units, but we want to make sure our units are imperial, our pressure is in PSI, and our acre units are in acres, our dry product volume is in bushels, and our dry density is in pounds per cubic foot. Next we'll move over to our implement tab, skipping a few because we just need to check a few things, and then the select folder, and then we're ensuring that the unit selected in the X30 is what matches what we are using. Today we're testing a 7700 5-tank machine with NH3 section control, 2 fans, and it will be coupled to a 3320 76 foot at 10H spacing with high flotation. Next we'll move over to our geometry page, and here the main thing to look for is that symbol A is the implement width in inches matching the drill you have. If you selected a 76 foot unit, it'll auto-populate that with 920 inches. If you had sectional control, your implement size setup would be done in individual sections. To do that, please follow the procedure outlined in the operator's manual for your X30. We will skip over to the switch box, and on the switch box we have the ability to change from virtual to cabin master switch by selecting it here. Because all of the units come equipped with a 6-channel master switch, we would like you to test it with that. If you so choose to not use that, you'll come back in here and change it to a virtual screen to use the touch screen to turn on the clutches, so on and so forth. Next tab, we'll move over to the seeder tab, and then the granular tanks, and then the tank button, the general tab. And in the general tab, we want to ensure that our tanks are set up naming tank, and the enabled sequence times we don't have to worry about at this time. The important thing I want you to enter at this time is a preload time of 5 seconds. 5 seconds. Next, we'll move over to tank drive setup, skipping grouping. In the drive setup, we'll move down to tank 1. And we want to ensure that all of our tanks we're testing are 32 pulses per revolution, minimum shaft speed 10 RPM, maximum shaft speed of 1000 RPM, and they have the appropriate metering auger based on what that tank has. So you'd carry on through all of your tanks to ensure they're all configured, all of your dry product tanks. Next, we'll move over to controller setup, and we want to ensure that all of our tanks are set at minimum PWM of 15%, maximum PWM of 95%, and all of the controller responses at medium fast. You can go to a general setup to set them all the same in this. Custom settings, click on there, and you can set up one tank and the rest will follow, ensuring that all the settings are the same. Next, we'll move over to our product tab at the bottom. Then we'll expand the granular section. Then we have to select wheat, hard red, and canola. To select a new product, you just touch the new product, highlight Bourgault, move forward, select the product we choose to add. We previously added canola and wheat, but we'll add oats to this file just to check. Okay, so touch oats. Now the yellow arrow comes live, touch it. We can rename that oats if we want, but for testing we'll just leave it as is. And then check the mark. Now we have to enter our seeding rates. So the density is auto-populated based on the Bourgault charts. Our product rate increments, that would be our bump up rates. We'll just put 10 pounds in there for today's sample. And a preset rate of, say, 60 pounds for today's sample, and a secondary rate of 70 pounds. And you proceed to make sure you have at least canola and wheat in that selection. It is a good idea to make sure you have all of your products you'll be seeding with that year. Next step, once we've entered our products, we've done all of the setup functions that we need to do, and we'll touch on the running man in the lower left hand corner to enter our main operating screen. We want to select all of the tanks that we'll be testing today. So we've got all 5 of our tanks plus our NH3, our 6th tank. We want to put the product in we want to test out of each tank. I'll deselect all of them but my first one, expand the first one, touch here, enter our wheat, accept it. We're accepting the preset rate here, secondary rate, accept. Yes. Tank 2, same thing, we'll put wheat in there, we already have that selected. Tank 3, that's one of our smaller tanks, so we've selected canola for that tank. Tank 4, we've got wheat in that tank. Now we only have room for our 4 products in there. We have to take one product off to populate our tank 5. And tank 5, we'll select canola in there as well in our smaller tanks. Tank 6 is NH3, and we'll test it differently. Next, we're going to configure our bottom taskbar dashboard. We want it to display all of our tanks, so we've got it displaying tank 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And in order to pick what we want to display in the bottom dashboard so we can see all of them at the same time, I touch tank 1 again, brings up another expanded view. We can display application rate, metering roller RPM for the test, and a calibration factor. All good things to display for your test. So you'd proceed to configure all 6 of your tanks accordingly, then press the check mark. Now we're going to enter our calibration screen, and we're going to go in here to ensure that all of our tank metering augers will turn. So we'll simply touch on the wrench on the right hand side. That'll pop up a different screen. Within that screen is a manual speed adjustment. We want to use a manual speed like we're showing down in the right hand corner to make sure that we can do this operation stationary without having to actually move. So to enter a manual speed, we have to touch this button here and enter manual speed of 5 miles an hour. Then we'll touch the manual speed, and that pops up a manual speed that we can use later. Now we've selected our on-tank calibration switch box, so we're going to enter manual multi-tank calibration, automatic calibration, and then we'll go through a wizard, touching the yellow arrow in the bottom corner. That enters this screen. Then when I move back to my tank, I'll turn the clutches on, and these red indicators will go green, indicating the tanks that will be tested. For today's test, we do have product in tank 1, so we'll just confirm that the other 4 tanks, will turn. So we'll be turning on 2, 3, 4, and 5. Tank 2, 3, 4, and 5. As showing on the monitor, tanks 2 through 5 have turned on. Now with the X30 system, we have to ensure we have hydraulic oil running through the metering system. With our remote control, we can divert oil from the fans to the metering system. So I'll turn on the power so it links to the hydraulic valve. Right now it's establishing a link. And if I simply touch the fan button on, it'll run the fans. This confirms the fans have run in the correct direction. In the lower left hand corner there is a fill and a fill cal button. When I touch the fill button, it diverts all of the oil to the hydraulic conveyor or auger, and we'll test that function as well once we've done testing the auger on this. If I press it a second time, it'll divert oil from the fan 1 circuit over to the metering drive. So we have selected our tanks 2, 3, 4, and 5. They're flashing green. Now to confirm that they're turning, I simply turn on the master clutch. Now our metering augers will run. We'll let them run and ensure they're all turning, except for our tank 1 that does have product in it and we're not running right now. Then we'll turn off our master clutch. Then we'll proceed to the cab to ensure that it has calculated some estimated weight and RPM. We have estimated weight and RPM. We could reset that weight right here, but we're going to reset it with the reset button on the tank. If you press the reset button till the red light goes out, it should reset those accumulated revs and estimated weight. You'll verify that in the cab, and yes, we have lost that weight, confirming that that function did work as it was supposed to. So we can exit the calibration wizard just by setting the arrows and accepting that. I'll exit this calibration screen so we can have another tank on display. I'll turn off tank 1 and then I'll leave 3. So I've got 2, 3, 4, and 5 on the main display. Down on the dashboard we have all of the tanks on display. As the clutch is depressed, you notice that the indicator will turn yellow. 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, now we've tested the calibration to ensure that we are resetting our pounds accumulated and RPMs. Now we're going to go into a functional test to ensure that everything works in a simulated seating situation. So to do that, we have to turn on the clutches for the tanks we want to test. Again, we will not be testing tank number 1. We've got tank 4, tank 5, tank 2, and tank 3 on our main display. We'll be honing in on tank number 4 because we have a preset rate of 100 and then another secondary rate of 350 to test the higher RPM of the unit. We have pre-entered our manual speed of 5 miles an hour, so we will be able to apply product without moving. And again, remember, we won't be running on tank number 1. So, and as well, you can see on the dashboard below, viewing all 6 of our product tanks. So using the 6-channel switch box, we'll turn on tanks 2, 3, 4, and 5. So 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now we'll simply engage our master switch. The light will turn green and the augers will start turning. If you notice at the bottom, at 100 pounds per acre, tank 4 is turning at 205 RPM, 206. If we hit the bump up arrow, it'll increase by 10 RPM. That was previously preset, and the RPMs will move up accordingly. We are at 130 pounds per acre and 273 RPM. Now we are going to test a higher limit, touch the 350 pounds per acre, and the metering auger will return to a faster speed of 700 plus RPM to achieve that 350 pounds per acre. We'll go back down to 100 pounds per acre. And you would proceed to test all of those metering augers. I'll turn off the master clutch, ensuring all of our metering augers turn off. If you remember before, we set a preload time of 5 seconds. This function would be used to test runs, so on and so forth. In order to do that, we have to have our tanks turned on that we want to run. So we'll leave tanks 2, 3, 4, and 5 on. Our master clutch is off. And then back at the tank, we can simply press the reset button for 1 to 2 seconds. You notice our metering augers ran for the 5 seconds that we previously established. adequate time for customers to check the runs and make sure there's product coming out of those runs. You can use this function as well to start product coming before you're actually moving. Nice feature that a lot of customers like. Next, we want to press and hold the reset button to ensure that the metering augers run as long as we're holding the button. If I continue holding the button, the metering augers should all turn. Okay, now we'll be testing the function of our 6-channel switch box. We want to ensure that each is controlling the appropriate clutch. If you notice at the bottom of the screen on our dashboard, all 6 of our tanks are displayed in order, 1 through 6. We'll be testing the function of the switches. If we test tank 1, it'll turn yellow. 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, ensuring that all our tank switches are working properly. Tank switch is set up for NH3, so it'll be a different operation. We also notice the 4-item tanks we have on our main display have turned green. Now we'll test the function of our master switch, indicated in the lower right hand corner of our X30 is it's white, indicating it's good to go. Turn the master switch on and our tanks will turn on. We'll turn off each one to ensure they turn off. Ensure that each tank is turning off with the appropriate switch. And finally, our master can turn off. A very important feature is our remote control. Your 7000 series cart comes with 2 remotes. You can only have 1 remote linked to the 7000 at any given time. We have this link established with this one, and to test these functions, we have in the lower right hand corner, we have our fill and fill cal button. If I press it once, it is in the fill mode, diverting all of the available oil to our conveyor or metering auger for maximum performance. If I touch it again, it's in the fill cal mode, diverting some oil to the metering auger circuit. If I touch the fan button up at the top, it'll divert the oil to the fans. You want to verify that both fans are turning and the RPM is showing on your X30 monitor. To exit the fan mode, I simply press the fill cal button. When the system is quiet, the oil is being diverted to the metering or to the conveyor / auger. Touch it again, diverting oil back to the metering augers. We also want to test the functions of all of the conveyor functions. So you'd be in the fill mode, and we want to ensure that all of our functions for our conveyor swing, raise and lower, so on and so forth work. It's best to do this function test in a wide open area because it will take you some time to get used to the conveyor movements. We also have 2 speeds for our motor, a slow and a fast. We also want to be running on the fast speed for maximum efficiency, diverting oil from both fan 1 and fan 2. We have a reverse button. We have a kill button. Up at the top we have our main power button, turning this remote on and off. As well as we have a link to the optional scales on the tank. This one here, we can scroll between the different tanks. Now I'm on tank 3. I can scroll to a different tank. I'm moved over to tank 4, showing 0 pounds. If I add some weight, the weight should accumulate on the display. We have the ability to tear off each individual tank to ensure that we can take our weights to the cab and re-enter them into our X30 monitor if we so choose. We'd also like you to test the function of your scales and the link to the remote. This remote links to the scale on the cart. The way our scales work, we have load cells on the 4 spindles and 1 common tank. So if the customer chooses to use these weights for his benefit, he has to tear off as he fills each tank. We're displaying on tank 1 as the indicator shows. If we press the skull button, it'll move to tank 2, 3, 4, and 5. The scales do not link to the X30. The only link is to the remote. In order to divert oil to the metering circuit and our fill cal, we have to have this conveyor run in the run position. But you want to ensure that this is turning on and off, because we do not want to have this in the run position when you take off down the road and have your conveyor possibly move because you've bumped some buttons. So simply hit the stop button and our fans should run. If we turn conveyor run on, then we have to press our fill cal button again to divert oil back to the fill, and again, second button is to fill cal. Concludes our basic test to ensure that all of our metering augers, conveyor, and optional scales work. There are some other things that you have to keep in mind. If your unit is equipped with NH3/liquid, you will have to do a different test to ensure that they're working. We have some tests on our website designed to test the system without actually having product in the tank. Please proceed to do those tests at this time. If the unit is equipped with cameras as a standard option, all the cameras should be hooked up in the cab and ensure that all of the cameras are functioning properly. If the equipment is, if your unit is equipped with blockage modules, you'll have to test this feature after we are hooked up to the drill, and also follow the procedures outlined in our website and operator's manual. The final thing you have to verify is that you have GPS speed coming into your X30 from your tractor. We have a number of setup procedures in the operator's manual that will outline some basic steps and third-party components you need to purchase from your tractor manufacturer to ensure that we have GPS speed coming into the X30. Very crucial to have GPS speed coming to the X30 to have accurate seating rates. With the large tires we use on the 7000 series carts, there's a lot of deflection. Changing the diameter of the wheels, changing the ground speed if using the wheel speed sensor on the cart. All of this procedures we've outlined today are outlined in your X30 and 7000 series operators manuals in a more in-depth method.